Welcome, friends and foes, survivors and killers. Let's sit around the campfire together and talk about Dead by Daylight, specifically the Predator franchise, and the potential and problems that could come with adapting this icon of science fiction into a licensed chapter for Dead by Daylight. Okay, before we get going properly, something I do want to just let everyone know about. This video has nothing to do with the alleged leaks that were posted to 4chan very recently, alleging to be by an ex-behaviour dev. In these leaks, they cover topics like upcoming licensed chapters, the work ethic going on at Behaviour, and the Fog Whisperer program, and all sorts of other crazy stuff like that. If you want my verdict on it, it's all complete horseshit, and you watch the video by The King that covers this, and I agree with basically everything he's saying on that matter. I'm only bringing this up because in those leaks, it talks about Predator and Alien being potential future chapters, and this video was prepared well in advance of these leaks being previewed. This isn't speculation, this isn't a video about the leaks, I just think Predator's a really cool franchise and wanted to talk about it. The same goes for the next video in this series that will be coming in February, which was a license that was also mentioned in the leaks. Friday the 13th. Yeah, I'm covering Jason, baby. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed this video, I'm really pleased with it, so thanks. Let's be real. As soon as I put that Alien video out, you all knew this was coming. Alien was 20th Century Fox's prestige sci-fi franchise, the golden child beloved by critics for decades, and glittering with accolades, star power, and consistent cultural relevance. By comparison, Predator was always the second best, the volatile younger sibling who could never quite keep it together, settle down properly, or live up to the expectations set up by the elder. But in recent years, the prodigal son has well and truly returned to people's hearts and minds, with the release of Prey reminding audiences that this franchise still exists and was even, good that one time. Just like it has in the box office, in critical reviews, and in the wider cultural consciousness, Predator has always kind of played second fiddle to Alien when considered for a licensed chapter in Dead by Daylight. There's a couple of reasons for this. The higher consistent quality and quantity of Alien product over Predator has contributed to the former franchise being more favourably understood in general, and Alien has always branded itself as a horror franchise first and foremost, while Predator tends to steer clear of the horror label as a more straight-laced sci-fi action series. While there is plenty of horror-esque tension in the Predator movies, at least the ones that are competent enough to try, it's got far more in common with Alien's action-packed sequel than the claustrophobic and pretty nihilistic atmosphere of that first film. Predator not being a traditional horror property is probably a big reason a lot of Dead by Daylight players won't consider it as a potential license as readily as they do Alien, consciously or otherwise. I'm here to potentially open your mind a bit to the potential for a Predator chapter in Dead by Daylight, to pick through the history of the franchise that brought itself back from the dead and distill what makes it truly special and worthy of adaptation into the game we all love, or at least love to hate. Commonly considered the glory days of commercial cinema, the 1980s marked the birth of many film franchises that would become box office staples for the rest of the 20th century. Along with the burgeoning horror comedy subgenre, marked by movies like Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the 1980s was a decade where the action movie really became a consistent moneymaker at the box office. Terminator, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Rambo, Indiana Jones, all titans of movie history that oozed testosterone all over Hollywood like a slug with a six-pack and a lantern jaw. This was the environment in which Predator was born, and in a lot of ways it really shows its age. With the cast being about 95% very muscular men running around with their shirts off, Predator bubbled with even more testosterone than its contemporaries. And for a good chunk of its opening act, it's basically indistinguishable from those other movies. Everything from the extended firefight, which is mostly just random gunfire, explosions and people falling over, to the casting of Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of rehashing the role he played as Captain John Matrix in Commando 2 years prior. It all makes the whole film reek of the 80s so much that you can't bring a lit match near it or the hairspray will catch fire. But once the titular Predator starts to make its presence felt among the characters and audience alike, the tone of the film starts to change. Suddenly our untouchable and charismatic men of action go from being the hunters to the hunted, as this unseen stalker tracks them through the jungle to pick them off one by one. This is where I would say Predator starts to flirt with the concept of being a slasher movie. There's a lot of voyeurism inherent to the Predator's hunt as we see through its alien thermal vision and watch its hapless victims stagger about the jungle, totally unaware of what's out there waiting for them. As the body count starts to pile up, we get to see elements of the Predator's arsenal, fighting style and even habits that will become characteristic to how the creatures we would later know to be the Yautja operate. The Yautja are an alien species that arrive on planets they've identified as having the most dangerous life forms they can find, and hunt them down to take their skulls as trophies. To help them do this, a Yautja hunter carries a large assortment of alien technology unlike any gear found on Earth. The jungle hunter that stalks Major Dutch and his men in Predator uses gear that will become characteristic of the species in future films and extended media. A cloaking device that renders a predator almost completely invisible, a wrist gauntlet with a self-destruct mechanism, and a shoulder-mounted energy projector weapon known as the Plasma Caster. But the most iconic weapon in the Predator's arsenal is the retractable wrist blade, which is commonly considered to be the most honourable weapon a Yautja can use in a hunt, due to its extreme close range. While the weaponry of the Yautja would expand in various future Predator installments, with notable inclusions being the Razor Net Launcher, the Smart Disc, and the versatile Combi Stick, pretty much everything the original Jungle Hunter rocks up with comes back in some capacity in all the sequels. If a Yautja, not just the Jungle Hunter but any Yautja, was to come to Dead by Daylight, this would be our starting point to come up with a successful power. The arsenal of a Yautja hunter is incredibly varied and versatile. It can hunt down its chosen targets in stealth with its cloak and thermal vision, pick them off at range with its firearm, or close the gaps and begin the bloodshed with its wrist blade. This is a lot to pack into a power, despite kind of being the bare minimum you can give to a Predator. Without all these elements as part of its kit, any attempt to adapt the Predator is gonna feel like it's missing something. And there's the added complication of, well, already having a cloaking killer who is inspired in large part by the Predator, the Wraith, from the visual shimmer you see as he moves, to the faint snarling and growling sound he makes as he approaches. He's even got a pert named after him. Whatever power they give to a Predator, there'd need to be a balance where the cloak is part of the power but not such a major part that he starts stepping on Wraith's toes anyway. Think of the relationship between Billy and Bubba or Spirit and Sadako. We'll get into my power designed for a Predator killer later, but before I do, I want to talk about character stuff for a second. Because a Predator isn't just a mindless beast like a Xenomorph or a Demogorgon, and it's not a single recurring character either like Pinhead or Michael Myers. The Yautja are a species of aliens who are in their own ways pretty human-like. They have their own distinct social hierarchy, customs, and systems of honour and prestige. As such, while most Yautja we see throughout the franchise share many traits with each other, they are all distinct from each other, and should be treated individually to the best of our ability. While this means we have a wealth of predators throughout the franchise's history to draw inspiration from for the base killer and cosmetics, this does unfortunately mean we have to talk about the sequels. And when I say the sequels like that, I don't mean that I hate all the Predator sequels with a burning passion, just most of them. For better or worse, each Predator movie has introduced a new variant of Predator or Predators, that comes with its own unique spin on the formula set up by the original Jungle Hunter. Predator 2 brought the younger and more vicious City Hunter, Predators showed us the honourless outcast known as the Black Predators, the movie that shall not be named brought the gigantic Ultimate Predator, and Prey showed us the Feral Predator, a Yautja from a different biome on the Yautja homeworld that's very distinct from the ones we're used to and wield more primitive weaponry than the modern Yautja hunters. That's not to mention the predators that appear in the AVP movies. Who could forget the ultimate alien Riz machine Scar? Come on, you can't tell me Lex didn't want to face one of those mandibles. And the Xenomorph Queen only killed Scar at the end of the movie because she was just a little hater who was jealous she didn't get to smash. Regardless of which predator design we'd end up with as a killer for DVD, there's no reason why we couldn't get at least some of the others' alternative cosmetics. The only thing I think we could never get would be the 11-foot tall Ultimate Predator, which, given it's from Shane Black's Predator movie, that's not the worst thing in the world they're missing out on. Of course I discussed my disdain for the Predator's approach to autism in my previous video on Claudette, but there's so much more wrong with that movie than that. On top of the hideously unfunny comedy, bizarre obsession with stock sound effects, and Steve Wilder getting his role cut from the movie when Olivia Munn discovered he was a sex offender, The Predator was received terribly by critics and audiences alike for being a nonsense plot with uninspiring characters that also happened to rewrite 30 years of established Predator lore and history for absolutely no reason at all. Suddenly the Yautja weren't a species of technologically advanced warriors hunting the universe's most dangerous game for fun and sport. You know, the one consistent part about their species that we've known since day one. But instead, they're cultivating the human race to harvest their DNA. And the ultimate predator abducts the male lead autistic son because it views him as the next stage of human evolution, which suggests the master plan of the Yautja, spanning centuries of human genetic research, was to make their species autistic. Yeah, I've never met a Predator fan who respects this movie either as a movie or as a piece of Predator canon. If you do, then good for you, but I'm pretty damn sure most people would be much happier if we just pretended this movie didn't exist. But that's not to say that most of the other Predator sequels are masterworks of filmmaking either, because they're just not. It says a lot that Alien vs Predator is simultaneously the third worst Alien movie and the third best Predator movie, at least in my opinion. And while it consistently made pretty good box office money with the help of the AVP spin-off to keep the franchise relevant, it took 30 years for us to finally get a Predator sequel worthy of, or even superior to, the original movie. Before we continue, a word from today's sponsor. When you suffer an injury, it can be easy to feel powerless. Like a strange invisible monster is bearing down on you, and you are unable to fend it off on your own. But thankfully, Morgan & Morgan can take up the fight for you, and make that monster bleed a different shade of green. Injured and don't know where to start? With Morgan & Morgan, it's so easy to make those first few steps to gain the compensation you deserve. Hiring a lawyer can be daunting, but with Morgan & Morgan you can submit a claim without ever having to leave the couch. In 8 clicks or less, you can submit your claim to Morgan & Morgan and begin the process of recovery and compensation. And since you can text your attorney and legal team for the duration of your case, there's a need to wait around in stuffy office buildings or go to consultations. The whole process is simple, professional, and accessible. For more information, you can find Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com or dial #law in your phone. Now, let's talk about Predator. August 2022 saw the release of Prey on Hulu and Disney+, a prequel to the other Predator movies which saw a young Comanche girl by the name of Naru prove herself as she hunts, and is hunted by a fearsome predator in the 1719 Great Plains. Despite being denied a theatrical release because 20th Century Studios are just incredibly cringe, Prey was received amazingly, and has served to put both the Predator franchise and Prey's phenomenal lead Amber Midthunder on the track to a hopefully bright and exciting future. And this is where I may draw some minor controversy, which, as you may have already picked up, I fucking adore Prey, to the point I think it's better than the original movie. Yeah, I know, a sequel doing the original is basically sacrilege, but hear me out. Predator is a classic, I know, but if you ask me, Prey outdoes it with more tense action, better pacing, and a far better cast that's enhanced by the context of pre-colonial America. The main cast is entirely Native American, and there were Native crew members on every production department, including producer Jane Myers, to ensure Prey was accurate and respectful to Comanche culture as possible. This ranges from big things, like Comanche gender roles and horse riding culture being present in the script, to small things like how they brush their teeth, or the superstition of whistling in the forest to summon evil spirits. I firmly believe if we're going to get a Predator chapter in Dead by Daylight, Prey should be where we look for characters and ideas to adapt. A big part of that is Prey's incredibly compelling and likeable lead Naru, who had not only introduced DBD's first Native American character to the game, but also because Naru is just the most interesting Predator protagonist we've ever had. Plus, if the coyness of Amber Midthunder in interviews is to be understood correctly, then a Prey sequel with her return is very much on the cards, which would make her the first returning protagonist in the Predator history, and more or less the face of the franchise in the 21st century.
We talk all the time about all kinds of things, and that was probably one.
And you want the sequel to happen?
Of course. Yeah.
You're ready for it.
I'm ready. I loved that experience. I love that movie, and yeah, I would be happy to, see where where else we can take it.
Before I talk more about Naru and Prey and its suitability for Dead by Daylight, I gotta warn you that we're heading into spoiler territory for Prey. So if you haven't seen it, go give it a watch. Even if you've never seen a Predator movie before in your life, because Prey really is just that good. If you want to, you can just skip ahead though to the power and perks. The timestamp is on the screen right now. The only other Predator protagonist popular enough to contend with Naru's spot as a potential survivor would be Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch. Which, while he's definitely quite the icon, would come with its, complications. The biggest issue by far would be the difficulty in acquiring the likeness of Arnold Schwarzenegger for the model. I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 got it for Terminator, but that's Warner Brothers money. And crucially, when the Terminator crossover happened for Death Garden, that was just a T-100 endoskeleton and didn't involve using Arnie's likeness. Plus, if we were ever to get a Terminator in DVD, it'd kind of be awkward to the T-100 having to square off with a completely different Arnold Schwarzenegger character, and that might damage gameplay clarity. There's also the rather less practical issue of Dutch fitting the Survivor formula far less easily than Naru does. Dutch is a big, strong army man who's shown effortlessly carving his way through soldiers before he takes on the Predator. It's a Goliath versus Goliath story. By comparison, Naru starts out as an underdog, as despite the fact that she's a skilled and respected tracker and field medic, her personal drive to become a hunter puts her on a journey of growth that starts with hunting birds with her brother and ends with carrying the Predator's head back with her to the camp and being declared war chief. Prey is a David and Goliath story, and that fits the way DBD works way more cleanly. Individually, the survivors cannot fight back against the killer in a tangible way, but as a group they can use intelligence, teamwork and adaptability to make it out alive and enjoy the victories. That intelligence and ability to adapt is probably Naru's defining trait. She's not a natural hunter the way someone like Dutch or her brother Tabe is, but it's her ability to observe, learn and adapt to her environment that allows her to take down the feral predator at the end. Far from the difficulty of acquiring former California Governor Schwarzenegger's likeness and voice, getting the likeness and voice of Amber Midthunder would be very doable and absolutely fantastic. I love when the Resident Evil survivors got voice lines for the lobby. Why not give Naru some too in a mixture of English and Comanche? Prey was the first feature film ever given a Comanche dub, and it was all done by original voice actors. It'd be almost sinful if the language wasn't brought in with Naru into the game in some capacity. And what would our young hunter be without the monster she's hunting? The feral predator is Naru's quarry throughout the events of Prey, and you might notice it's very visually different from the Yautja we've seen in prior installments. According to director Dan Trachtenberg, that's because this predator is from a different biome than the jungle hunter and the other predators we've seen in the franchise thus far, with a different physiology, culture and even diet. While this isn't the first time a predator redesign has happened, it's easily the most radical redesign of the alien to date, and it perfectly suits the more grounded tone of Prey. Instead of gunfire and explosions spraying everywhere, Prey is all about simple, brutal violence for a simpler time that's better suited to the Yautja's ritualistic love of close combat. The bone mask, the absence of the, I want to call them, tactical fishnets, and replacing the plasma caster with the spear caster affirms this predator as a simpler, more refined hunter for a more civilized age. It would be sacrilegious to suggest that DBD wouldn't represent one of those classic predator designs, to instead pick the feral predator as an opponent to Naru, but that's exactly what I'm suggesting. Prey has already set new standards for what a predator movie can be, and will probably be a key part of the franchise's future. It brought Predator back from the dead, and if any movie deserves to overshadow the original and basically have a chapter to itself, it's Prey. However, when designing a power for the Predator, I made sure to design it in a way to fit any Yautja, not just the feral predator. Replace the word Spearcaster with Plasmacaster and Spear with Plasma Bolt or something, and this power could work one-to-one for the Jungle Hunter or any other Yautja, not spoiled by the fetid touch of Shane Black. So without further ado, here's my power, add-ons and perks, yeah, I got perks this time too, for a Predator chapter. Tell me what you think. The new killer, the Predator, comes with a wrist blade as its weapon, and its power is called the most dangerous prey. And it comes in, wait, hang on a minute, 4 parts? The first part is the spear caster. Using the power button, the Predator can pull out the spear caster, slowing itself to 3.8 meters per second. After 0.2 seconds aiming down sights, the Predator can fire a spear for a magazine of 3. Each spear that hits a survivor afflicts them with hindered, stacking for each successful hit beyond the first, kinda like Pinhead's chains. After clearing the magazine, the spearcaster needs to reload for 3 seconds, slowing the Predator to do so. A second part is called Cloaking Device. Using the active ability button, the Predator can activate Cloaking Device, which will persist for up to 30 seconds. During this time, the Predator moves at 130% speed and becomes undetectable but cannot attack. Within 16 meters, the Predator's cloaking device will shimmer like wraiths if it's moving, and within 12 meters, the Predator will kick up dust that will give away its location. Cloaking device has a cooldown of 30 seconds. In Cloaking Device, the basic attack button is replaced by Thermal Vision, and the Spearcaster is replaced by Targeting System. Thermal Vision puts the thermal imaging filter in place of the Predator's vision, highlighting the aura of all survivors who are running or performing conspicuous actions further than 24 meters from the Predator, as well as blood trails at any range. Thermal Vision is on a gauge that lasts 8 seconds and recharges while Cloaking Device isn't being used. During Cloaking Device, Spearcaster is replaced by Targeting System. When Targeting System is activated, the Predator is slowed to 3 meters per second and a triple laser will be projected in a straight line. If the laser touches a survivor, they will become triangulated at 10 triangulation points. Survivors gain 10 points for every second the targeting system is actually aimed on their body, and lose 10 for every second the targeting system is not aimed at them. At 0 points, the Predator is forced out of Targeting System and Cloaking Device. At 30 points, Triangulated is replaced with Target Locked. The Predator will immediately fire 3 Spearcaster shots that will home in on the locked target. A single spear will take a full health state from a locked target, but make them immune to further spear hits from that volley. The survivor now has to use the environment to stop the spears by turning a tight corner that their turning circle can't get them around, for example, or even using a locker to make the spears lose them. The spears will also time out after 5 seconds of flight. And there's a list of add-ons to the power as well that I've had a lot of fun making. And let's not forget perks. Yeah, I haven't done perks since Resident Evil 7 video and I'm really pleased with the ones I come up with. The Predator comes with 3 new perks. Grizzly Trophy. Whenever you basic attack a survivor while another survivor is on a hook 60 meters or more from you, Grizzly Trophy activates. Your lunge range and break speed is increased by 30% until the survivor is unhooked, and lingers for 30 seconds once that survivor is unhooked. Worthy Prey. Whenever an injured survivor escapes chase from you, they become the obsession after 10 seconds. Stuns and blind inflicted by the obsession last 50% shorter, and if the obsession is exhausted, their exhaustion does not recover while they're repairing generators, which lingers 5 seconds once the repairs stop. And the last killer perk is Hex Hunter's Territory. When the trial begins, the killer has 2 stacks of Hunter's Territory. At any time, the killer can crush a dull or boon totem and rekindle a Hex Hunter's Territory totem in its place, consuming 1 stack of Hunter's Territory. Survivors that come within 12 meters of a Hunter's Territory totem have their aura reveal for 4 seconds. Whenever the killer hooks a unique survivor, they gain a stack. And finally, Naru's perks. Field Medicine. Whenever you completely open a chest while injured, you gain half your missing healing progression instantly. You also gain a 33% speed boost to your healing if you're carrying any item that is not a medkit. Deepwood Tracker. Any auras you read can also be seen by survivors within 16 meters of you. When outside of the killer's terror radius, the active ability button places the glass bead marker like the one from a map. And the last perk for Naru is Bushcraft. When you are carrying an empty toolbox, flashlight or medkit, Bushcraft activates. Press the reassurance button to destroy the item and Bushcraft will gain a charge. At 3 charges you can activate Bushcraft to create an item of a type and rarity based on the items destroyed this way. I hope you can see why I've gone so ham on the ideas and concepts for this video in a way I haven't done since my Resident Evil 7 video. While I firmly believe Alien is both the superior franchise in terms of overall quality, and it certainly is the definitive work of sci-fi horror in Hollywood, deserves a spot in DBD's Horror Hall of Fame, I find Predator as a franchise and the Yautja as a species to actually be more interesting to talk about. In part it's because the average quality of a Predator franchise installment is so low that there's a ton of untapped potential that future Predator movies could explore, despite the original film having 4 sequels and 2 spin-off movies. And also because Predator is surprisingly different from most sci-fi action movies that lets them tread on the boundaries of horror without stepping fully into it. Within a narrative, the xenomorphs are just another utterly alien species. They're big scary monsters that want to kill everything that isn't them. They're an apocalyptic threat no different than the Daleks or the Borg or the Tyranids, and that restricts them both to certain settings and to certain kinds of stories. These are restrictions that the Yautja do not have, because they're a lot like us, and their relationship with humans is not entirely antagonistic. Yes, they come to Earth to kill people for fun, but it's not like they're at war with the human race. To them, we're not sworn enemies to exterminate, but worthy prey, capable of taking them on in a fair fight, to the point that they see us at the top of Earth's food chain, and therefore suitable to use the entire Yautja arsenal to hunt us. It's what allows individual predators to express their own personalities throughout the series. Scar's surprisingly charming relationship with Lex is very distinct from, say, the cocky, inexperienced jungle hunter, who plays with his food and takes off his mask and weapons to fight Dutch head-on at the end, or the feral predator, who's never been to Earth before and spends the early stages of the movie trying to figure out the planet's wildlife. It's no coincidence that the only Predator movie that tried to give the Yautja a more unified goal as a species happened to have been so awful it's basically been exiled from Predator canon by the fans at this point. It's that intimacy and kind of personal relationship between any given movie's Predator and its chosen quarry that gives Predator that glamour of a slasher movie, despite Predator not being a horror movie at all. That vibe of Predator as a kind of pseudo-slasher film, I think makes it a perfect fit for a future DVD chapter, and yet one that would kind of come out of left field despite the franchise's high popularity and renown. While it wouldn't be a completely out there surprise to get Predator and Dead by Daylight someday, it'd definitely be unexpected. And regardless of whether we got something old or something new, I'd say any day we got the universe's apex Predator and Dead by Daylight would be a day worth celebrating. What's everything I have to say about the Predator? Do you share my enthusiasm for Prey? Would you rather see the original or perhaps even one of the sequels represented in Dead by Daylight? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, please do sure to subscribe, do all the other social things. Special thanks once more to Morgan and Morgan for their continued support of the channel. If you find yourself needing representation, you can always find the links in the description and in the pinned comments, so that's there if you need it. And once again, thanks to my beloved patrons, whose names will be obviously at the end of the video, but I just thought it deserved a little thanks as well for just being excellent people who contribute to the upkeep of this channel. You will see this video a day early, so if you're interested in joining Early Access Game and getting some other sweet perks, access to the exclusive Discord chat, then the Patreon link is in the description as well, along with all my other socials. This week sees the arrival of the new mid-chapter and the new tome featuring the Knight and Vittorio, so I can't wait to cover that. So I guess I'll see you when it comes time to talk about that. Ta-ta for now.